What is up YouTube? I'm the Nice One, and today I finally have that tutorial video for you. This time we're building a character model from scratch. And actually I'm gonna build it in multiple parts. So the first one we're gonna be building the initial base, and then after that we're gonna be adding maybe some armor, some clothing. I think in the end I'm gonna make this guy kind of like a knight model. You guys seem to be digging the paladin and the knight from before, so let's teach you how to make your own. So if you're into that kind of thing, sit back, relax, and let me make the mistakes for you. What is up YouTube? How you guys doing? I hope your character models are coming along. I'm finally coming out with this character modeling tutorial that I've been promising you guys for a long time now. I know I've been kind of slacking on that, but finally coming around to it, and I hope you guys find it super useful when you're making your own models. This video series is going to be a bit more of a front to back, like start to finish character modeling tutorial. We'll basically start with nothing, and by the end of it we'll have a character with maybe some clothing, some armor, a little bit of texture on them, and maybe we'll even animate them. Who knows? We'll see. But for sure we'll at least get the modeling and a bit of texturing in. Before we get started on the tutorial, let me do some housekeeping work first. I know a lot of you guys are going to be working off Blender initially, so there's going to be a couple of differences. For example, shortcuts, the UI obviously is going to look a lot different, but basically my technique and my kind of style when it comes to character modeling is going to be pretty much the same, pretty much transferable between Blender and Maya. So try not to worry too much about it. Major differences to note between the two software is basically the biggest thing is going to be your symmetry right here. So in Maya I have object X symmetry, which basically means that when looking at the front of the character, the left and the right are going to be symmetrical, i.e. if I modify a face on the left side, the right side equivalent is going to change as well. In order to achieve that kind of symmetry in Blender, what you're going to do is basically start with a cube, add a loop cut straight down the middle of the cube, delete one side, delete the vertices on one side, and then apply a mirror modifier so that the other side that you didn't delete gets mirrored on the opposite. And then once you have that mirror modifier in place, you can actually start doing adjustments on vertices, faces, edges, and it'll be reflected on the mirror side as well. And then from there you can pretty much just follow along as long as you kind of have more of a clear awareness of Blender shortcuts. If you guys really want, I'll make a Blender version as well. I've just been using Autodesk Maya a lot because it's kind of the industry standard when it comes to these things. But if you really want, I'll make one in Blender too. We'll actually do texture painting in Blender as well, so maybe it'll be a good video for the future. Other housekeeping things, as I'm going through the tutorial process, I'm going to try and say the shortcuts that I'm using, but if I'm going too quickly, or if I forget to say something, or if you guys just get a little bit lost, you can always look down here at the hotkeys I have, and it'll basically be tracking what I'm pressing. Yeah, and from there you can pretty much keep in line, keep up with what's happening. Just refer back down to this OSD hotkey here. But yeah, let's get started. So in Maya, before I start anything, I like to make sure that I'm oriented on the positive X that you see right here. This is because whenever you're modeling, whenever you're doing texturing and then rigging and then animating after, you want to make sure all your characters are facing the same orientation. It just makes life a lot easier. In Blender, in Blender the Z is the up, and then Y is here, and X is positive. So I think the X axis is the equivalent to the Z axis in Blender. But yeah, I like to get started on positive Z because when you look at the other views, like here front view, it's actually positive Z, right? The front view is positive Z, which is why we want to make sure our character is oriented positive Z. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing when it comes to my kind of style of character modeling, I do a lot of box modeling techniques, low poly. And yeah, so as the name suggests, you're going to want to start with a box. So hit and hold down space and navigate to create, go down to poly primitives and create a cube. Basic cube. Okay, and then we're done. Cool. No, before we get really into it, what's really important is to establish your line of symmetry. And the line of symmetry in Modeling is basically the line down the middle of a character where the opposite side, if it's supposed to be symmetrical, is where the symmetry begins. And so it's always important to create your initial line of symmetry so that you always know where the mirror is supposed to start. So, I think I made a minor adjustment, so actually I'm gonna delete this box just to make sure I didn't do anything. So again, we'll go space, create polyprimitive cube, navigate to edge by hitting right click and holding down, and then navigating to edge select mode. So we can add a line of symmetry a couple ways. We can either go select the edge, go space, go mesh tools, and then go insert edge loop. And you can just kind of probably add one right here or here. You can add one here. If you want, you can add one like right here or here. But what I like to do instead, to make our lives easier, is to go select the edge you want to add the middle edge, the line of symmetry on. Hold down Alt or hold down Control or Command in Mac. Right click, edge ring utilities, to edge ring and split. Boom, now you have an edge loop right down the middle of the model. I like to add one on this side. Let's do the same thing on this side now. And yeah, now you've kind of divided your cube into 4 other rectangles. But here's where you can really get started. So what I'm going to do is go back into edge mode and round out this cube to make the initial torso. So basically the process is we start torso, then we go to groin, and then we go to legs, feet, and then we go back up to arms, hands, and then we finish with the head. So let's start with the torso. So make sure object X symmetry is on, or if you have the mirror modifier in Blender. Select this edge here, go W, and then shift it in a tiny bit, and then shift it back to round it out. Do the same for the back edge, go here, and then maybe like bring it in a tiny bit. That looks great. And then we're gonna kind of, because torsos aren't perfect cylinders, what we're gonna do is scale, do a bit of a scale modification. So go to object select by going right click, hold object select, and then we're gonna go, I believe it is R, R select. And on the X axis, let's bring it in a tiny bit, do the same on the Y, maybe X a little more to round it out. That's looking good. I think I'll shorten it a tiny bit on the Y axis. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. Now go back to edge select mode by right click, and then let's add an edge loop. So let's throw an edge loop like right there, because this is where I'm going to be adding my waist. And with the waist selected, go to R to modify. Actually, hit Q first to make sure that the loop was applied properly. And then while it's still selected, go R. And let's bring it in a tiny bit along the X axis, and then maybe a little bit on the Z. Yeah, to give it a nice little waist. We'll do the same thing here. Space, mesh tools, insert edge loop. Add one right there. And Q to apply, R to scale out a tiny bit. Let's bring this out. This is kind of be this chest area. I think I want to elongate this torso a little bit, so I'm gonna go vertex. Make sure I'm gonna select these vertices by clicking and holding, and then I'm gonna go W to bring it down a tiny bit more like that. Yeah, that looks good. And go back to edge mode. Q to apply. If you double click edge, it's gonna select the adjacent edges, and then if you hit shift, you can just add the rest of the lines. Because I'm doing that because, or you can do this and then do alt, or sorry, this. Yeah, double click. Okay, cool. And then, so with that bottom edge selected, you're gonna kind of bring it in a tiny bit more to kind of even it so that's not, well, it depends actually. If you want to make a female, they typically have wider hips, so you might want to bring that out a bit, but we're making a guy, so I'm going to kind of square off his hips a little more. Or don't, like 2019. I'm with her, if that's right. Sorry, not to get political. And not to talk about anything I don't know anything about that. So let's just pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, scale that in a tiny bit. And then what I'm going to do is modify his crotch. So select this, the bottom face is here, where his legs is supposed to come out. And your crotch area is kind of forms a V, so which is why you see Speedos. So to mimic that, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate, and we'll rotate it along the Z like this a tiny bit. So notice, I'll go back. So notice when you pull up the rotation, you have an X rotation, a Y rotation, an X rotation, and a Z. So we're going to rotate it along the Y, or no, we're going to rotate it along, we're going to rotate along the Z. Yeah, like this. Do that a little bit. Oh, you know what? Actually, since I rotated only the edges, it kind of screwed up the edges inside the face, and we don't want that. So instead, what you're going to do is select the faces instead, go E for a rotation, and then do the same thing. So there we go. That's better. Just like that. Yeah, that's looking good. Cool, cool, cool. That's awesome. Next, go back into edge mode. Before we make the legs, what we want to do is actually add, we're actually going to add edge loops beside this line of symmetry, because if you remember, your legs actually have a bit of a plateau area right between, like your legs don't connect to each other, right? There's like a space between, like a thigh gap, basically. So you want to kind of mimic that, because when you pull out the legs at the bottom, they're not going to be attached to each other, and you'll see what I mean. So if we don't add the loops beside the lines of symmetry, what happens is, if you select these two faces and go extrude, and you pull that out, notice that they're connected here. And that's not how legs work, right? We want them to be separate. So to counteract that, what I like to do, and there might be simpler ways of doing it, I'm sure, but what I like to do is select the edge where you're going to add the loop in, go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, and let's add one like pretty close to the line of symmetry. Like, that's not too bad. And actually we'll modify this later to clean it up, but we'll do this at first. And so we'll go back to edge, or we'll go to face by holding right click down face, Q to apply, and then select these faces, right? Notice how this isn't selected now. Now, if we go extrude, we can pull out the legs and they're not connected. See? Awesome. Looking good so far. So let's pull these legs down, maybe about here, and then go to W to position them a little straight down. So whenever you're modeling, something else to keep in mind, whenever you're doing character models, you want to make your character in a T pose so that you're rigging your rigger, or if you're doing the rigging, it'll be a lot simpler to figure out what's the forearm, the bicep, the hand, the fingers. Always just try to do a T pose for your initial character models. But yeah, okay, cool. This looks great. For thighs, I'm gonna rotate the bottoms here a little more to be like this. Yeah, that looks good. And then let's just bring it out a tiny bit. And then actually, let's scale it in, because the thighs are actually a lot bigger than they should be, right? Your thighs aren't the size of your torso. They're typically maybe half, a little bit less. I have thunder thighs, so my thighs are friggin' gigantic. But yeah, let's scale it down so it looks a little more proportional to the torso. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, awesome. I think I got a bit of a weird kind of curve here, so what I'll do is go into vertex, select these, let's go W, bring these in a tiny bit, and maybe even bring these in a tiny bit to flatten it out. It's got a bit of a bump, which is no big deal. It's actually kind of normal. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, that's good. Bring it in. There we go. Yeah, that's good. Okay, awesome. Sweet. That's what's up. So we want to round out these thighs, right? So a couple ways you could do that. You can select these edges here and just kind of pull it out this way. Maybe even bring this in a tiny bit, but make sure they're not connected, because you don't want end guns, but pull these out a tiny bit more as well. Yeah, that's looking good. Yeah, kind of rotate it out a little bit like that. Let's bring this in, and then you know what? Select this again and kind of square it off. Pull that in. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, awesome. So now we got this kind of weird thing going on over here. And we don't really want that. At least I don't particularly like that. I think it's kind of a weird, like, area, I guess. I don't know, like crotch, like a literal crotch right here. So to get rid of that, what I like to do is use the target weld. So I'll go into vertex mode by holding down right click, vertex, target weld on inside the modeling toolkit over here. Hit target weld, and then just kind of, vertex like this, target weld, and then pull it in there so that they connect, and boom. And actually what I'll do, normally I do this later, but I'll do it now since I'm here. I'll actually remove the lines, the loop cuts we added beside the line of symmetry, and merge them back together with the line of symmetry so that we don't lose that, because remember, it's super important. But we don't need it anymore because actually we've parted out the legs. And we're trying to keep our character models low poly, right? So you want to try and get rid of unnecessary faces. Yeah, so target weld that, target weld this together, and then let's, you know what, for good measure, we'll target weld that. Great, awesome, that's looking good. Yeah, sweet. Alright, let's move on to the calves. So go back to face mode. Let's select this face and this face. And we'll do the same thing. We'll go in modeling toolkit, extrude, pull down the thigh, from the thighs to create the calves and the ankles. Proportionally, I think the legs should be proportionate to the torso. So it's actually typically about the same size. So I'll pull that down to about this. Let's hit space if you want to change perspectives. Like for example, top right is orientation perspective. Then you got top, front, and side on the, I believe, X side. So looking at the front view, that doesn't look too bad actually. Maybe pull it down a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. And then go back to perspective, and then let's scale it down a tiny bit. Because remember, if you ever look at your ankles, they're a lot thinner, right? They're a lot. Their diameter is a lot smaller compared to your thighs. So obviously you want to maintain that kind of proportionality. Unless of course you're making some really crazy proportional characters, like some super cartoony characters. Then the ideas of proportion don't necessarily go out the window, but you got a little more to play with. But you know, with modeling and everything, it's always important to kind of know the basics before you start breaking the rules, because then you're not just then you know how to break rules properly, if that makes any sense. Let's take that in a little bit. I'm just in vertex kind of modifying his stance a little bit, because I'm trying to create that nice kind of S curve you see in the body when it's standing idle. Let's bring this forward a tiny bit, bring this back. Yeah, create a nice little S curve going on right here. Sweet, that looks awesome. Go back to face by holding down right, and I think that's a little too, actually that's a little too thin for me, so I'm gonna just bring it out a tiny bit more. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Nice. That's what's up. Okay, so let's move on to the feet. So with the faces selected, hit Q to apply the transform. Go back to modeling tools and go extrude. Let's bring it down a tiny bit, like right here. I think that's a good place for your feet. And apply by hitting Q, and then go to R to expand to scale it. And then again, scale it on the X and the Z a little bit to make it a bit wider so that you got wider feet. Yeah, that's good. And then what you're going to want to do is apply that modification, go back into face. Now we're going to pull out where his actual feet and toes are going to be. So select these front 3 faces. Make sure that you didn't accidentally select anything else. And go extrude one more time. This time, extrude those out. And what you'll see is they extrude out kind of weird like that. So just extrude out a little bit and then hit Q to apply. And then go back into modification and, like shift them out, shift them in a bit, pull them out like this. Scale it in a little bit more with like that. Let's bring these down because that looks kind of weird. And then actually let's rotate this because that looks weird. Nice. Okay, that's what's up. Cool, 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 cool. Let's select this face actually. Rotate that a tiny bit. Apply. Rotate this like that. And let's go into front view. Make my life a bit easier. Okay, so let's rotate this to kind of even it all out. I'm kind of just eyeballing it right now. Let's go vertex and pull out this vertex a tiny bit. Push this in. Push this one in. Okay, awesome. Object mode, go back to perspective. Okay, cool, 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 cool. That's what's up. Let's go back into face. Let's select these front three by shift click to select multiple faces at a time and pull it up a little bit so that's more flat with the ground. And yeah, actually I'll just pull this down a tiny bit because the heel is on the ground like that. Okay, cool. I like that. It's not too bad. And then I think this looks kind of weird, like it's just ankle foot like that. There's no kind of gradation. So what I'll do is go into edge mode, select these three edges, and then go W, pull this out, and pull it up to kind of give it that kind of curve into the foot. Yeah, and you know what? For good measure, let's pull this out a little bit too. For vertex, actually, I'm going to pull this out because it's a bit of a weird distortion there. Yeah, there you go. Some simple feats. Looking good so far, right? Yeah, it's not looking too bad. And we're like not too far in yet. All right, next what we're gonna do is make the arms. So to do that, make sure you apply the changes, go into edge mode, and we're gonna add a couple loop cuts on the character's left side, right here. So select the middle edge and then go mesh tools, go to insert edge loop and just add one cut right about there. Then add another cut like right here, maybe one more right there. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, sure, let's do that. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit Q to apply, go back into face, select this, this, and this. These four faces right here. Make sure you're not selecting anything else, and then go extrude, and we'll follow the same process we did with the legs. We'll pull these out a tiny bit, and then once they're out, we'll scale it in by going Q to apply, R to scale, and then we'll bring this in a tiny bit, bring this down a tiny bit, and then let's bring it down like that, and maybe rotate it like this. Amazing. Yeah, looks good. Okay. This will be kind of like his shoulders. So pull this back a bit more, go into edge, now go into edge mode, and let's actually pull this out because this is supposed to represent his shoulder, so it obviously doesn't, there's always kind of like a rotation, like a bend to it, right? So let's just pull that out a little bit and then select these faces. So go to vertex, and actually I kind of just want to even these faces out a little bit, like that. Pull that in a tiny bit. Yeah, like just like that. Just like this. Awesome. That's what's up. That's what's up, that's what's up, that's what's up. Pull it in like that. Pull it in here. Okay, great. Okay, good. Good, good, good. I like that. Go back into face mode and apply. And then make sure you have those faces selected. And then let's make the bicep. So hit extrude again. Pull out the bicep right here. Same thing, pull it out a little bit, hit Q to apply, go to R to modify the, the scale. So bring it in a tiny bit till you get kind of like a shape that you're digging. It's kind of square for me right now, so what I'll do is go edge, select this edge and this edge, and maybe like pull it up a tiny bit, kind of rotate to kind of scale it off to round it out. Actually, I'll select this one alone. Bring this up, bring this out, bring this out. Yeah, that's looking better. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Bring this out. And you know, actually, this is kind of weird, right? This kind of bend here, so let's bring this down. Yeah. Go back into vertex, select this vertex, pull it up like this, I'm just kind of doing like little tweaks as I go along. Anything weird that I notice? Yeah, okay, cool. So now we kind of got a bit of a bicep. Go back into face, select these 4 faces again, Q to apply, and W to pull out a little bit more. Let's go into front view, actually. Make my life a bit easier. Because I'm all about making my life a bit easier, right? Alright, cool. Yeah, so let's rotate that a bit. Just like that, hit Q to apply, and then hit extrude again. Now we're making the forearm. So pull that out a little bit, kind of like that, and then go back into perspective. Let's scale it in. Yeah, scale it in a tiny bit, just like that. Because now this is supposed to be his wrist, right? So it's going to be a lot thinner than his forearm, or his bicep. So we'll pull it out, and I don't like this bend. This is unnatural, especially if the positive, this right here, positive Z, is his front. So we'll just pull it off like that to give it like a semi-hug. He's doing a weird semi-hug. Actually, you know what? I'm going to select these vertices here and pull it all out just a little bit. There we go. Nice. Back into face mode. Let's pull these faces out a tiny bit because it's not exactly even at the moment. So we're going to rotate it a little bit. Scale it in like this. Okay, pull this out. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Go back into vertex. Ooh, whoa. Go back into vertex and go select this, pull it in here, pull it in here. I know it's a little boring at this point, but I think it's all helpful so you don't have to do it later. And personally, I really love doing the detail work. You know what I mean? Like once you've created the general shape, I love going back in and adding the fine details. That's kind of like my wheelhouse, and that's where I have a lot of fun with it. I don't know about you guys. Like personally, whenever I'm creating a model, it's always like starting that's the hard part, you know what I mean? Like it's always getting started or coming up with that idea or figuring out how you want it to look, and then you got to get over this like that standard you have for yourself, like trying to make it the best as possible, because you know maybe some people will see it, so you don't want them to see bad work. But you know, it's always better to just get started and then improve from there, if that makes any sense. Okay, awesome, sweet. So let's create his hands. So go face, let's select these 4 faces right here, and let's extrude again and pull that out, and this will represent his hands. So I'm not going to make some intricate 5-finger hands like a normal person, someone who's actually really good at this would. I'm just kind of lazy, so instead I'm just going to make kind of like a, how do I say it, like a weird little box hand that I think will be good enough for our purposes today, at least. Hit the vertex, go, let's bring this in because that's kind of weird. Bring that in a tiny bit, bring it up, hit this one, modify, pull it out. Yeah, sorry, this is OSDs, I'm sure is coming super helpful as I kind of quickly go along, but yeah. So apply that with Q, hit these vertices, Q, go W to pull it out a little bit more, like that. Maybe just these 2 now and pull those in, so round it out a little bit. Yeah, that's good, I like that. Yeah, I like that, it's not bad. Pull this in. Okay, sweet. Go back to face, let's select this, and let's bring it up and actually rotate it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Nice. Awesome. Let's add like a little thumb, because that would make sense, right? So first, what we want to do is go into edge mode, and then with that edge selected, go space, mesh tools, insert edge loop. Let's add one like right there. Yeah, that's good. So now we can go back into face, select these faces. No, go into face, Q to apply, select these faces, and you know, let's scale it all out. So go to R, scale this out, pull it out and in like this, and you know, let's scale it along the Z. because I like the look where it's like big hands. I don't know, not big hands, but like kind of like disproportionate hands. If that makes any sense. I think it's just kind of a cute little look that I usually dig. So I'm just gonna do that here. Vertex. Select this. Q apply to make sure the modification was added. Whenever you do transformations, always just make sure to go to Q to make sure that the modification was added. Q is basically your basic selection. And it's how you make sure that any changes you apply are actually applied. So just always make sure to go back to Q before you add another, because sometimes what ends up happening is if you don't go back to Q, you might apply another transformation on top of the previous, and then it screws up your model. And if you get too far along and then you forget what happened, then you have to go back, maybe retop, or like hopefully you don't have to redo the model, but there's obviously going to be some modifications and error fixing after that. So yeah, okay. Again, just doing like minor tweaks as I go through it. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's sweet. That's what's up. I like it. I dig it. I hope you guys like watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because that's literally all the references I ever make. That and Community or something, you know what I mean? Alright, cool. Or D&D, of course. Yeah, nice. Okay, so let's add a nice little thumb, right? Edge, Q to apply, right click edge. Let's select this, space, mesh tools. Let's go insert edge loop. Let's add one right here. Yeah, that's good. Let's add one right there, and I think let's add one more right here, because I think we'll make these 4 his thumbs. So Q to apply, right click face, select these 4 right here. Go back, hit extrude again, pull that out a bit, and Q to apply, R for scale, bring it in, and just modify the scale until it's like where you like it. Actually, instead of using the individual scale tools, just use the center, because that'll modify everything in proportion, which is super helpful. You know, just pull out the thumb a little bit, just like that. Where did it go? Like this. Let's pull it out here and rotate. Yeah, cool. Vertex, right click, go into vertex mode, Q to apply, and let's just do some simple rounding. Let's go edge mode for this. Q to apply, hit this edge, pull it out like that, up. Let's rotate this edge actually so that it evens out. Pull it down. This edge, pull it out. Oh my gosh, what happened there? Push this back in, push this back in. Get out of walk tool. That was an accidental hit, my bad. W, pull this out, nice. Pull this over here, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm digging that. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's what's up. Okay. Let's select these vertices again, and maybe like some of this. Give me some of this action right over here. Select that, and let's bring it down. Yeah, let's bring it down, in, up, this. Face mode, faces are selected, go R, or scale. Just scale it down a little bit more again. And then W to pull it out. Yeah, sweet, that's looking good. Not bad for a simple thumb, right? Awesome. Okay, cool. So now we got a simple character model. We just gotta add the head, neck, and a head, right? Okay, I like it. Now, so this is low poly, right? But if you want kind of a more like high poly finish, you can actually hit 3 and you'll get this, like a smooth finish. And what ends up happening is basically it adds a bunch of polygons, or sorry, a bunch of faces between the low poly faces you have. So obviously it makes your mesh a lot more high detail, so it's going to take a lot more rendering. But if that's the kind of look you're achieving, you can hit 3 for a preview, and you can hit 1, make sure you have it selected, 1 to go back to the low poly version. And when you're ready to, there's actually an option up here in the modify panel when you're ready to apply the smooth mesh preview. But we'll get to that later. So for now, we're going to stay in the low poly view. And so let's add a neck. Let's add a neck, and then we'll add the head piece. Yeah, okay, cool. So we're adding a neck right here. So what we're gonna wanna do is right click edge, select this edge, space, mesh tools. Let's go insert edge loop right there. Yeah. No, actually, let's go right here. Yeah, that's great. And okay, so this is actually a good time to show you something. So with this edge selected, if you ever want to kind of move the position, you can, with the edge selected, hit space, go mesh tools, go edge slide, and then drag it with the middle mouse button, and then you can pull it out, pull it into wherever, like the edges you have around it. So I'm gonna bring it to about there, which I think is good. Q to apply, and then go to face, select this, select those two, and then go W, Q to apply, extrude, pull this up a little bit. Oh no, that's not what we wanted. So that happened because we accidentally selected those faces. So Z to go back, this one, and then let's just do a quick inspect to make sure we didn't select anything else. W, Q to apply, extrude, pull this up. Okay, cool, great. We don't have any weird faces pulling up anywhere. Okay, so that's not a bad length for his neck. Let's go here, Q to apply, R to scale. Whoa, nope. Object mode, select it, face mode, scale this down a little bit, like that. Okay, cool. But see how it's like this weird cutoff here? You don't really want that, right? Like, your neck doesn't just suddenly stop and then it's your shoulders. There's a bit of a gradient. So what we'll do is we'll go edge, Q to apply the changes, double click, double click, double click to select all of these bad boys, W, pull that out a bit, maybe pull it up. There we go. Nice. Now it looks a little bit more natural, like a natural kind of curvature. And actually, we'll select these and pull this up a lot more, and then these can go down. Down and in, I would say, actually. Yeah, because we don't want him to have a hunchback, right? Although Hunchback of the Notre Dame is probably one of my favorite Disney movies. Well, at least old school Disney movies. Although the story is super dark if you guys have ever read it. But I digress. Pull this out a little bit. Okay, awesome. Nice. Yeah. I like it. I dig that. Go back into face mode, select it. I'm going to pull out the neck a little bit more. Just like that. Okay, cool. Nice. So we got a basic model over here. All we got to do now is add a head, hit space, go create, deselect everything with Q, go space, create, and let's create another polyprimitive cube. W to bring it up, position it to where you want the head to be. Let's go there, and you're done. No, I'm joking. Let's go R to scale it, and the middle scale button to scale it all proportionally. Bring it back down to keep the position. R again to scale. You know, let's make them kind of chibi. Yeah, cool. W, that's a good size for me. And the reason I'm leaving this gap you'll see later, but I'll leave it there for a moment. Okay, great. So with the head, we're gonna do the same thing, but actually what we'll do a lot is switch between what I had shown you earlier, that smooth finish, where if you go 3, you see a smooth finish preview, and 1 is low poly. So 3 is what it would look like when you apply this finish. 1 is how it looks like low poly. So select the head, go edge mode. Let's add a line of symmetry again. So select the top ring, go control, right click, edge ring utilities, control, right click, edge ring utilities right here, and then go to edge ring and split, so you get one down the middle. Do the same right there. Okay, great. And object mode, let's go back, see how that looks. Okay, so we got a bit of a rounder head now, or a more squarish head. Go vertex, let's go W, bring this in a tiny bit, kind of like what we did with the cylindrical body in the beginning. Let's go object, 3, like that. Okay, cool. And actually what you can also do is just start modifying it using within the smooth preview finish, right? So I have smooth preview enabled. If if I go vertex, you see the vertices. I can select this and then like scale it in, kind of give it more of an oval shape. Maybe give them a kind of a bigger chin kind of thing going on right here. Maybe pull this out a little bit, you know? Yeah, sure. Egghead, yeah, I like it. I dig it. Let's bring this in a bit. Like that. And actually, let's bring the whole head forward a tiny bit and actually rotate it down. Like that. Okay, that's better. Go back into low poly, and that's what it looks like. And then let's go edge and add a simple edge loop right about here. Right? Object, go back into smooth finish, edges, vertices. Let's select this. 3, edge. Nope. Q to apply. Sorry. The reason you're seeing that is because I didn't apply the edge loop yet. So Q to apply the edge loop, and then select this, W to bring it out a little bit. What we're gonna have to do is add another edge loop. So here, click there, mesh tools, insert edge loop. Let's add one right there. Object, 3 for a preview, vertex, Q to apply. So in smooth finish preview, let's bring this in. All I'm trying to do is add a little bit of a like a little bit of a hint of a nose, of where his nose would be, like that. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, it's kind of chibi-ish if you guys are into anime and all that, like me, because I'm a super nerd. Pull this in, pull this in, shape out pull out his cheeks a tiny bit like that. Yeah, he's turned out kind of cute, right? Let's go there, like this. Let's select these vertices, pull it down with W. Yeah, and then select these. You see that I'm doing a lot of vertex modifications. Well, a lot of vertex modifications now when you're doing the head, because the head has a bit of a, I'm kind of picky when it comes to the way the heads are kind of looking, because that's, you know, you end up looking at the face a lot, right? So you kind of want to get it right. So we're just going to be modifying it a little bit here and there. Select this, pull it up a little bit more. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm digging that. Pull that out. Pull this in. Pull this out. Pull this down. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Object mode, and you know, let's just kind of scale the whole thing up a bit. Maybe scale it up that way. Squish it down a tad. This. Scale it out. Make it bigger. Bring it in like this. Yeah. Nice. Sure. That looks pretty good, right? Object mode here. This is what it looks like that, so that they kind of fit together. So that's how your character would look, right? So what we're gonna do now is attach these two things. So go back into low poly finish for both using 1. And what you see is what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna connect the neck and the body using a bridge function right here. So to do that, let's add a. We're gonna have to do a little bit of cheating here. So let's add edge. Select this edge. Let's go mesh tools, insert edge loop. Let's add one just right here. Object. See the preview. Make sure it doesn't look too weird adding an edge loop there. Apply. Vertex. Let's bring these in a tad bit. Like that. And push it back. Like this. You know what? We can even do, we can even cheat by using the target weld. Instead, target welding like this. No, that's not what I want. I want this to weld to this. I want this to weld to this. This to weld to that. Yeah, that's good. 3. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Go back. Whoa, nope. Apply the target welds so you get this. Now, what we're gonna do is delete these faces right here. Just select them, hit delete. And then we're gonna go into the body, select these faces, hit delete. Then go edge, select the object here, here, Control J to connect them. Or I believe it's actually, sorry, that was in Blender, sorry. Select the body, then select the head, go space, mesh, combined. So now they're one piece. At least they should be. Edit mesh, mesh, combined. Okay, there we go. Now they're one piece. So now they're all one piece, and then let's start bridging some of these edges, right? So let's select this edge and this edge, go bridge. Select this edge and this edge, go bridge. This edge and this edge, go bridge. And then this edge and this edge, and go bridge. There we go. Face, go back into face mode. Select these top faces that you want. Make sure you get the chin. Bring it down a tiny bit, like that. Let's bring this down. Okay, and then we'll go select this ring. You know what? Let's scale out this ring because it is a little bit weird of a kind of proportion, and we'll bring it down like that. And we're gonna have to do some target welding to get rid of some of these weird little indents, I guess. But basically position the neckline right where you want it. I think it looks pretty good there. Go into vertex and then go target weld. Let's weld this here. And let's weld this here. Go object, apply the 3D, apply the smooth finish, and boom, there you go. Now you got a simple character model initially, a base model that you can start adding clothing and armor to. For now, actually though, I think what I'll do is I'll cut the tutorial here for now, and then next part we'll actually talk about adding clothing and armor and weapons and a little more detail. But this is kind of your base model that we're going to be starting with on the next episode. If you want to, so right now I'm in preview, right? If you want to apply, if you want to apply the smooth mesh preview, just go into preview mode, and then go into preview mode, and then go modify, and then go convert, and then you're going to hit smooth mesh previews to polygons, and then it'll convert your low poly into a high poly finish. But yeah, so tune in next week when we start making armor pieces and clothing and all that stuff for this character. I hope this was helpful for when you're making your initial character model, your base models. And yeah, hope you guys found them useful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try my best to answer it down below. Yeah, anyways guys, I hope you liked the video. I'll talk to you later. Have a nice night.